We go. Hey, Megan Scully, and this is the Limerick Post Show. And sure, of course, he's no stranger. Jon Kenny, how are you getting on?
I'm fine, Megan. I'm good, thank you. Great entirely.
Well, I'll tell you,
Very good.
you've been so
Good.
busy. I mean, the reason, of course, we're chatting today is the Banshees of Inisherin. It's out now. It's the talk of not just Limerick, Ireland, worldwide. This is everywhere.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been got a good reception. But my son went to see it. He's out in Toronto, and he went. The film festival was on out there a few weeks ago, and he got to see it. I was in a 1,200 seater auditorium, and he just said he couldn't believe how they just loved it. He said they've laughed, they went quiet when they should go quiet. It was the typical McDonagh thing, like you're laughing in shock sometimes as well. But and of course it is so un PC. But he said they really, really, really loved it, which is well, look, it's brilliant. Why not? It's a great piece of writing, and it's a magnificent story. Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible. I know now Martin McDonagh has said in interviews like how he just loves Connemara and, of course, the Aran Islands as
Yeah.
well. So how is it getting out there?
Well, look, good, I think, I mean, everything is very good because I think he's very honest, to it, And the story, although set out there, and his language, I mean, from his plays, I mean, I did the Lonesome West and the Skulls. His language is beautiful, and the language in the plays is beautiful and very accurate when it comes to the dialogue, and the dialect. So, I mean, he does have a huge affinity and love for the whole west of Ireland and everything about it, like, from the cripple to the beauty queen, everything. So, and once again, they're all magnificent stories about very ordinary people, but I think the great thing about McDonagh is that the very ordinary becomes the very extraordinary, which some people, we often miss out, like that it's the essence of everything, really, isn't it? That like the smallest things in life can be the biggest, the greatest things, and the greatest things can be the smallest things, And I think he just gets that. I think he really does get it, like so. Yeah.
I have to say it's an absolutely like stellar lineup, and as I mentioned there at the start, that it has gone worldwide. I mean, we saw the SNL skit with Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell as well, so it is being really well received by the American audience. You mentioned Toronto as well, and also there's been rumors and bit of hummings about possibly some Oscar nomination. What do you think?
Well, look, I definitely think there's a few things, definitely. And I mean, I don't know much about Oscars. I mean, I really don't. I'm totally far from Oscars. I was weird, but yeah, look, when you see things, I mean, I would even think like for costume. I mean, I just thought the costumes and the color and the landscape and all that. There's so many things in there, even apart from the great performances which were given by Brendan and Colin. I mean, so and everyone else, like, I mean, God, stop, the supporting cast there were just huge as well, And so, yeah, I think it's well in the running. It's as good as, it's a great movie. It's a great film. It really is. It's, it's super. So, yes, of course, it's well in with a shout, I think, for a few nominations, definitely,
Now,
for
I don't want
sure.
to give
Between,
oh, look, we'll all be watching that
yeah,
night anyways. I don't want to be giving too much away about the story because I do want people to go out and
yeah,
actually go see it and see it for
yeah, of
themselves.
course. Yes, yeah.
But what can you tell us about your own role in it?
Look, it's very small, and it's kind of nearly like, I suppose when I sat down at the reading and I just turned around, because having read just the bits that I had in it, like, and some of them obviously ended up on the floor as usual. But anyway, that's fair, that's nothing. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But I was just when I was at the reading, I remember just turning around, and it was only when myself and Pat had actually read it together, because we all had read, I got sent on the script and I just read and I said, oh yeah, this is really great. But it was when we read it together, the penny dropped at me. I remember we were all sitting around the table, and I just said to Mark, I said, this is a fucking double act, isn't it? And that's what exactly myself and Pat's character in the film are like. We are so completely, we are I don't know, how would you describe us as two when you have this civil war going on the small island between these two people, myself and Pat's characters, as if we were joined at the hip. Like, we're completely the opposite, in a sense that, like, everything that Pat says, I confirm it with either a look or, yeah, you're right. And anything I say, he says, yeah, you're right there too. So it just shows that kind of awful need, in some ways, that we feel as characters, that need to sort of reaffirm everything. and to make sure that we just get along with things, you know what I mean, as good as we can in difficult situations. And so we're very difficult, and in a sense then very comical compared to these two very strong characters. And here you have these two fellas, and I suppose like they just want to keep the old, keep the even keel on everything, the yes men. You know, they often say that politics is full of yes men, and of course they're the ones who just won't say anything. As they said, he's above the door for the last 50 years and he didn't open his mouth. Well, I suppose my character is definitely like that, you know. And there's a sense that, like, oh, let's just keep the status quo, let's keep everything the way it is. Don't say anything. Oh God, don't say that. No, no, no. You know. So yeah, that's why I think it's such a lovely. The little bits that they're just such a lovely play off of what's going on around. I think is gorgeous. You know, they're just in there for that. I think myself. You know.
Do you know what I have to say though? I did when I was watching the trailer now, I actually, and you did mention, of course, Pat there. So when I spotted yourself and Pat Shortt sitting together in the scene, I was going, I actually got such excitement because obviously the two of you together is just absolutely famous. And what was it like being back together? You did mention it was a double act, so you're no stranger.
Yeah, well, I thought, I don't think we saw it like neither Pat. It's just when we read it together for the first time, we sat down and we had a reading at rehearsal, you know, which is something you don't often get a chance to do when you're doing any film bit. I remember doing bits in film and you just get a piece of script and I'd say, what am I doing here? And someone would say, just go on and do the lines. And you'd say, all right. That's happened to me a good few times in life, but not that I do much film work, I don't, but so it was great to have rehearsal, but it was just when we rehearsed, kind of just went like, yeah, look, this is why we're here. And he had chosen us actually to do these, obviously, because he knew our work from before. We both of us did The Lonesome West with Druid many years ago, so we had played opposite one another in a McDonagh thing, you know. So yeah, and it was that when we got the rhythm right in it, although we hadn't performed together for years, there was a sense of like, yeah, that comedic thing. Although without being comedic, it wasn't like, you know, but the timing was there, and I suppose the relationship that we had 20 years ago, to some extent, when we're performing, is still there. I think, you know, it's still there.
Even